just when we thought it was safe to leave the comparison of HiFi streamers behind us for the time being, Eversolo go and throw a curveball and introduce the DMP-A8. What does that mean? Stay tuned to find out. Welcome to this week's video, and those of you that are regular viewers of our channel will know that we actually planned this week to do a magazine style section. However, Eversolo had other plans for our video scheduling, and what they have done is brought out a brand new streamer, the Eversolo DMP-A8. Now, we have these on order, and in fact you can pre-order these from us. We anticipate delivery sometime from the 30th of November onwards, and by pre-ordering you guarantee that you will get the first UK stock. However, the purpose of this video is to talk about what this means, why is it different, what sets it apart from the competition, and why the competition should be perhaps worried. Anyway, you'll have probably seen all of the press releases in the last week, and it is a full-size piece of HiFi equipment. That's the first thing to notice. So those of you that perhaps like the aesthetic of the more compact A6 design now find themselves looking at something that is full-size, but I think it looks great, and the technical specs, well, let's just get into the meat of those right now. So, like the other devices in the streamer range, it shares the same screen size as the A6 does. So it's a 6-inch LCD touchscreen display. It also shares the same internal storage drive bay, the NVMe, which can take up to 4 terabytes of SSD storage, so that is also the same. The other part is the same, CD playback and ripping from an external USB drive, and same with digital inputs. So it has got a coaxial, Toslink and USB, as well as its own normal streaming functions. Now, something that is entirely new on the A8 is the HDMI ARC input. Now, I know there's a lot of people, myself included, that will run an ARC connection from my TV if I'm streaming from Netflix or Disney Plus, Apple TV and so on, to get the digital output signal only fed into the DAC part. Now, that to me is a very important and necessary addition. The USB input has also been upgraded to the XMOS Generation 3, and we've got Bluetooth 5, which again is the same, Qualcomm's QCC5125 chip. Now, the biggest change of all, as most will recognise, is the change to a full R2R analog preamp. Now, the R2R just means it's multi-resistor, it's got relays as well, but it's a very, very high qualitative way to control the volume. Now, there are certain streaming devices out there that offer volume control, and I use volume control in that context because in essence what they do is they throw away bits of information. So in fact, you are reducing the resolution of your audio signal by using a digital volume control. And there is no digital volume control that I am aware of. No doubt we will now be inundated with comments and messages, but there is this one. But not one that I have heard personally that can outperform a well designed and thought out analog control. So kudos to Eversolo for going down this particular path. It's a fully balanced device, and what is also new for this device, it has one set of balanced XLR inputs or one set of RCA inputs as well. So it's a single, let me make this very clear. In fact, I'll bring up the rear panel so you can see exactly what I'm talking about. You will see there's two sets of analog inputs and outputs. One set of analog inputs that are either XLR or RCA. You cannot switch between both. And again, on the output side, either balanced output or single-ended RCA output. In addition, Eversolo have introduced a two-stage power supply. So there's a linear transformer that feeds the audio circuitry, and that's very smart to keep the two separate. It's a multi-winding toroidal device. Now that reduces any ripple effects and any magnetic leakage. So again, they've really thought about this very carefully. And one of the things that immediately struck me is not only the high level of components that are clearly in this, and I'm going to go into some of those shortly, but also the fact that the price point should have the competition very worried indeed, because coming in at just under £2,000 in the UK, that undercuts the HiFi Rose RS250A by about £500 or nearly £600. Now, you could argue the HiFi Rose has a better display, but it's using the Sabre chipset. And I'm going to come to the chipset on this device in a second, because personally, I think this could potentially be one of the A8's biggest selling points. However, let us come to that in a second. As always, there's a very heavily Eversolo customized Android operating app. It offers bit-perfect playback, but it's also got deep DSP functionality. So those of you that like to add loudness or looking at parametric EQ, that is all there. And you can essentially fine-tune the output of this device to your personal taste. And I do wish, I am a lover of tone controls. I can hear audiophiles crunching their teeth as they grit them. No, that's not purity, but this is where I would say audio is so much about personal preference and taste, and this is why we are all different and unique in the sense of what we like to listen to. And as I've said in many of the videos, there is only one person's opinion that matters, and that is your opinion. So, as I've covered many times in past videos about the heated debates that take place in forums, which are good fun, and people should really treat them for what they are. They're nothing more than just people verbalizing what they think. When you sit down in front of your system, your components, your room acoustics and so on, it is only what you like that matters, and please never lose sight of that. No one can choose a component for you. A professional hi-fi business can advise you, and that is certainly an area that we pride our product knowledge and listening knowledge on, is our ability to advise you what you tell us you like. But someone else, it's impossible. So, this leads me on to what I think is the coup de grace with this particular device. And it's surprising, and I was surprised to see that the chipset did not come from ESS. Now, this is pretty much the staple diet of most streamers in and around this price point, and even up to sort of £3,000, £4,000. The ESS 9038 Pro, which does seem to produce good results. Some people think it's a bit bright and maybe a bit analytical sounding, but it's not always just about the chipset, as we know, because two identically equipped chipset devices can sound entirely different, so please bear that in mind. But this chipset comes from AKM, It's their Velvet Sound Verita. Now this is what they class as their top spec in terms of this chipset, and there's two different chips in here. There's the AK4499EX linked to the AK4491EQ. Now I'm going to bring up again from the AKM website the specs on this so you can see on screen exactly what I'm referring to here. But I think this is an ultra smart and almost incisive decision by Eversolo, because I have a feeling, and our sister company has had one of these in its possession, and the feedback I have heard is this is a really great analog sounding device, akin to a beautifully fettled turntable. Now, I don't make those kind of statements lightly. I personally have not heard, but the first thing we will be doing when our A8 stock order arrives, and we've got 10 on pre-order, and the pre-orders are going quite quickly. I'll come to the pre-orders at the end of this video. However, we fully intend to blind test it against the next level up in terms of cost, and that is, as I mentioned at the start of the video, the HiFi Rose RS250A, which I think is phenomenal value. It sounds great, looks great, but uses the 9038 chipset that I was talking about before. So I genuinely cannot wait to make that comparison, because I do feel, just on my gut instinct, call it intuition, an audiophile's intuition, that's an interesting statement to make, but it is based on, I would say, my 20 odd years in this industry, and knowing, and I do like the AKM chipsets that they produce in terms of the very analog sound. So personally, I can't wait. Another great technical aspect of this, it's got dual femto clocks. That is great for jitter reduction. Jitter is one of the worst elements in any digital setup. The more you can reduce jitter, the more that you can improve the natural sonic representation of the piece of music you're listening to. So you can kind of tell, I've got, I've not heard this, I'm going purely on what I'm reading here. And what I always say, ignore what you read, trust what you hear, but you can get a sense of how this device may perform purely on the technical specifications. But until we listen to it, until we've heard it playing, we're not going to know for sure. But I like how it looks, and I like what I'm reading. Okay. One thing that I noticed in some of the press releases that were missed, which I think are important, are some of the elements, for example, the hand-picked components internally. So we've got the WIMA German capacitors, which I think are some of the best in the industry. There's the Nishikon capacitors, the Murata chip capacitor, and the Omron relays, all from Japan. There's also from the US of A, the TI Audio op amps. So there it is in a nutshell. This has come as a very surprising release from Eversolo. We did know the A8 was coming, but we didn't think it was coming this quickly. But obviously we've had to change our video scheduling to accommodate the fact that this is a very important product release, and we want to bring you this information as quickly as we can and give you as much of the information that we have at our fingertips. Now, I just want to very quickly just take a second to talk about the pre-order situation. So we are taking pre-orders for these. We have 10 on pre-order. We have taken pre-orders for 5 at the time of publishing this video. So we have 5 pre-orders left in the first batch that are coming through. If you want a pre-order, you can do it straight from our website. I will bring up a link to that, or I'll put it in the video description below, so you can go in there, click on it, and you can pre-order from us. If you change your mind at any point up to the goods arriving, then you can cancel. There's no commitment, but it does mean that you stand the best chance of seeing one of these before the new year, because I know these will be sold out before any touch the UK shores. It's absolutely guaranteed. So there is a no risk opportunity for you to pre-order one, and once those 5 are gone, the remaining 5 I should say are gone, then I think it's most likely we won't see any probably until end of January, beginning of February. The demand for these are going to be significant based on the price point, based on the technical specifications, and we will of course be putting one through its paces to report back to you directly exactly how it fared and performed. So there we go. Probably one of our shortest videos ever. I am not a person who I will use 20 words when perhaps 5 would do just as well, but I hope that you genuinely enjoy our video content, and this always leads me to this part in the video where I ask for a very small favour, and that is, if you have enjoyed this video, if you've enjoyed the content of our past videos, and you have appreciated the effort we put into what we deliver to you, and we want it to be entertaining and informative, then please subscribe. It takes a few seconds to do so. By doing so, our commitment to you is to continue to produce great videos, relevant content, right up to the minute, accurate news and information, as we've done with the A8, changing our schedule to accommodate that. But it is important, and I know it's something that you guys are very interested in hearing about, as we are too, because trust me when I tell you, at Elite Audio, what we have here is a team of enthusiastic audiophiles as well as very focused professional individuals that strive constantly to provide the best service that we can give you. And I think that's reflected on our reviews.co.uk feedback, that most of our, I think 99.99% of our feedback is 5 out of 5. And we're not perfect. We have dropped the ball occasionally. You might see a 3 out of 5. There's one 3 out of 5 in there and a 4 out of 5. That's our 2 worst ever scores. But we take it seriously. We value feedback, and we really always want to improve what we do. One other favour to ask is, and I mentioned this before, is signing up to the Elite Audio newsletter. It gives you early bird access to our pre-loved section. It gives you exclusive access to offers that are only on our newsletter. There are offers in our newsletter that never see the public domain. So that in itself is worth subscribing. You can subscribe, receive one newsletter. It comes out every 2 weeks. If you feel it's not for you, one click, you can unsubscribe again. So why not take a look? There's maybe something in there for you. And as ever, please have a great week listening to music. Our coming week, we have got the brand new, just released Musical Fidelity New Vista integrated amplifier, which we will feature in next week's magazine style edition. Initial listening, it's very, very, very impressive, and I'm actually shocked at how far up I think this amplifier can compete in terms of the competition. But more of that next week. Thank you so much for watching this week. I always appreciate the time that you take to watch, but most importantly to comment. We strive to answer every single comment, or at least acknowledge that it's there. And please keep those comments coming. We love the interaction. If you want to message me personally, here is my direct email address. You can contact me directly, and I will answer every single email that comes in. Thanks again. Look forward to seeing you next week, and take care.